So, if you remember, I hope you remember that if we would like to understand the roots of civilization, of environmental history, we can divide two directions. The civilization background. The first one, a Judeo-Christian heritage. In the last week, we started describe the approach and the point of view of Judeo-Christian heritage to physical environment. And the second one, a Greek heritage. Today, we will continue in this direction our survey. The first story in the Bible, which concerned the defined relation to physical environment, the story of creation. The first or second book of creation describe the authors of Bible, the story of formation of Garden Eden. I remember in the last week I spoke about, I loaded up to the YouTube, my YouTube channel, the video, it's possible you saw, and I suggested in the last week and suggest again, switch on the subtitle, because help a lot for understanding the information. It's not totally correct, the translation and transcription of text, but of speech, but help a lot to my experience anyway. Okay, turn back to the story. A story of Bible, story of creation unfold on the semi-desert area of Near East. Therefore, the people who are living in this area, this physical environment, the best place is oasis and the garden, a safe place. The God prohibited only eating from the... Why so good place the garden? Because in the garden may plant any plants and animals, everything, but in selected manner. Other side, it's under control. According to description of Garden Eden, it's fenced whole of the area and saved by cherubs. I remember in the last week I spoke about the cherubs. You know the cherubs? Cherubs. It's some kind of angel with flaming swords. And the majority of problems solved by cherubs. Somebody know who is the leader of cherubs? Michel, Saint Michel. Okay, and prohibited eating only two plants, two trees. Tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the second one, tree of immortality. And when the God showed the garden for the first couple, somebody know which kind of punishment told if hurt the rule of eating these apples. Somebody know which is the original punishment? Because later the first couple didn't receive the original punishment. If you ate from the fruit of this tree, you will die. You will die. But when happened, and the first couple, Eve and later Adam, ate from the tree of knowledge, but no, in the tree of immortality, appeared, not personally, but the voice of God, and invite the cherubs, and this is the operation of expulsion from the Garden Eden. In which direction? Somebody, in which gate? Expelled from the Garden Eden. Somebody know? Because very famous title of novel. From east, from the Garden Eden, from the Eden. Steinbeck, it's very famous American author. Okay, eastward. Guarded from eastward. Okay, look at the punishment. No death, but look at the book of Genesis, third book of the Genesis, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, this is the original sin, and have eaten of the tree about which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it, cursed very important and crucial concept of the Judeo-Christian heritage. The earth is a cursed place. It's not a place of joy, it's a cursed place. It's like, for example, in the programming, this is the first line, the first sentence. Okay? Cursed place is the ground because of you, original sin. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life, thorns and thistles, plants, part of the plants, it shall bring for you, and you shall eat the plants of the fields. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground. The work, the real punishment, you will live, told to the first couple of God, you will live a curse, a bad place, and you have to go work. Why interesting? Because somehow it's a crucial element of programming of civilization. Look at, for example, Taoism. You know which is the Taoism? This is the natural religion of Japan. In the approach of Taoism, a work, this is the way of self-perfection. In the Christian heritage, it's not. The work is punishment. Look at, for example, a culture and civilization of antiquity, a Greek civilization or Roman civilization. Who is a complete citizenship? The people who not necessarily to work. Recently changed basically the situation because in the modern society the full citizenship, it's may elect or there is a right of voting and each practice of civilization able to use, this means a complete citizenship. In the antiquity, owned by people didn't work, not necessary to work. Recently changed basically the situation. But the original programming, original element of civilization, it's a cursed place where crucial element and the main element of the punishment have to work. Okay? Return to the ground. How long may live a human? In the Bible, exactly described. How long? It's possible in the last week I spoke about here. No? How long? Because if we are looking at Noah, from the flood of Noah, his age was 960. But it's not normal. But someplace the Bible, the author of the Bible, wrote down exactly the life expectancy of human. Somebody know? How long? This is a guess.
Like 120?
120. You know? Or this is the guess. This is the try.
I think I remember it.
Yeah, okay, it's a good remember. Good memory. In your age it's normal. But it's unbelievable. 120. If we are looking at modern curing, experiences of modern curing, because it's not easy job. Why? Because a DNA able to save memories, DNA memories, the shortage of former generation. For example, if mother and grandmother and grandfather lived in famine and hunger, the DNA information is saved for the 2 generations later. It's very interesting because we can imagine, it's a simplification, I am sure, but interesting simplification. Look at, for example, a human body like a plant. Like a plant. Receive the good quantity of water and the trace element and so on. So there is a capacity, more or less. But if we are looking at the civilization and the human in the approach of breeding, for example, the point of view of the breeding, there are limits. How tall, which is the size, and so and so. And if we are looking, for example, a hunter-gatherer communities, in the hunter-gatherer communities, the size of human changed between, so it's not a chart, it's changed between it's 120 and 80 centimeter, quite tall. Look at, for example, people lived in Egypt, in the first agrarian civilization. Generally 160. Why? Because there are two forms of the underfeeding. Qualitative underfeeding, not enough trace element, vitamin, nutrition, and so and so, and a quantitative underfeeding, not enough calorie. And the people who don't and didn't receive enough fine element became more sensible for sickness and infection. If didn't receive enough calories, decrease the size. There is a general prejudice for Asian people. It's a very short, it's not genetic reason. Look at, for example, how the name is, world records. There is a public books of world records. The tallest man, Chinese. But in China, a rice-based civilization so dominated agrarian activity, no place for grazing land, no place for animals. Look at, for example, a classical, traditional Chinese restaurant, dominate a small animal, duck, chicken, dogs and other small animals. No place for the cattle, no place for the horses, no place for large animal. Therefore, the size of Asian people, it's decreased for generation by generation. But this is the same situation in the case of Hungarian history. Look at, for example, people who conquered Hungary in the 10th century. The size of Hungarian was a general size, because in the cemetery reconstructed mainly various places. It was 121 centimeter. Like recently. Why? Because the diet of nomadic people was combined milk and meat and cereals, everything. It's combined. No underfeeding in this generation. Therefore, more or less produced this quite tall size. But look at, for example, 18th century. In the 18th century, Hungary was a part of Habsburg Empire and organized two great war, and recruited soldier recorded two data. The first one, there is a dentist in the audience? No dentist? Okay, but maybe interesting for them. If you have a friend dentist, you can pass this information. The first information, the size of body, how tall, because necessary to bring the arms and the backpack and everything. The second one, number of teeth. 18th century. Why? Somebody had idea? Why so important for the soldier? Number of teeth.
They are a good indication of their health.
Partly.
So maybe they ate a lot of meat.
In this period, not a typical, because eating meat, there is a prejudice. For example, a Hungarian author, Muric Zsigmond, wrote, the peasant ate meat in two cases. If the peasant is sick or the animal is sick. No other way. Because eating meat, this is the luxury consummation of nobility. Okay, but the majority of some elementary soldier, not nobleman. Because the diet of soldier, it's dry. If the people are not able to chewing the dry meals, lost the physical condition. Therefore, very important to be at least 10 or more teeth for the soldier. Okay, but recently, for example, my size, I was born in 1963, and my memories about my childhood, that the doorway of the buildings constructed in the 19th century too short to me. But I am not a basketball player size, but the generation who lived in the 19th century was much shorter than me. And we can follow in the modern society the size of body in the new generation increase with 1, 2, 3 centimeters taller compared to the former generation. Okay, punishment expelled the first couple to cursed area, to cursed word, and the main punishment is obligation of work. Okay, but beside the expulsion from the Garden Eden, there is one other crucial information in the Bible. The conception of the human stewardship. In the book of Genesis, author of the Bible wrote, and the Lord, the God, took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress and to keep, serve the garden in which we have been placed. Therefore, according to the original concept of the Bible, the world, the physical world, the plants and animals created for human. Therefore, a human, a steward of the world. And in the New Testament, in the St. Paul wrote to the Corinthians, for we are God's fellow worker on the world. You are God's field and God's building. It's very important. And according to some activists of environmental protection, this is the reason no efficient protection. Why? Because the basic concept of the human, a European civilization, that each of the created world under control and of human and served the human civilization. It's very important to realize a lot of element of human behavior came from tradition. Okay, the second story, book of Genesis, flood of Noah. Probably you know basically the story, not necessary to read regularly the text of the Bible, because so deeply infiltrated a European civilization, everyday's communication, that majority of story, almost everybody know who never read any pages from the Bible. The story, it's very interesting, and I suggest to you reading the Bible, because there are a lot of very interesting stories. For example, on the books of the creation, there are my impression that there is a light. It's showing a dark area, and sometimes on the light you can see somebody. For example, on the book of Giants wrote, no context for that, on that time before the disaster of Noah, lived giants on the world. Who are the giants? From where came the giants? First, secondly, Son of God arrived down to the earth and they made children to the wife and daughters of human. Who are the Son of God? Because, for example, Jesus named himself a Son of God. But it's more number, a Son of God. It's, for example, it's a good raw material for author of science fiction. Because the Son of God may be, for example, astronauts from the space, and we don't know. Elementary and scattered information. Finally, a God decided to destroy whole of the creation, except one family. Family of Noah. Noah had a wife and 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Yafet, and their family. Any other people killed, whole of the creation, cancelled. Why? Awareness of human, basically. And very important to realize, until the Enlightenment, you know which is the Enlightenment, this is the 18th century, when the crucial and rational thinking destroyed the rivalry, any other strategy of cognition, religious or magical strategy of cognition. Okay, turn back to this story. The God sent a message to Noah. And very important to realize, on the time, prophets and the God communicate directly. Not, for example, pray and looking the direction of the fly of birds. No, online connection had between God and the prophets. Why so interesting? Because clarify one very interesting contradiction. No compatible the rational and the theologian cognition. Look at, for example, a story of Noah. And, for example, one book of psychology. How you can describe the story of Noah according to terms of the psychology? Noah had hallucination and vision. It's mental sickness according to rational approach. And we are not able to judge it's true or not, because the religious cognition function according to basically different standards and the norms. Okay, finally Noah received the message, construct a ship, and finally constructed, and a couple of each animals, it's recon and drove to the ship and started the disaster. It's a 40 days rain, and the dawn water it's flooding up and destroy whole of the created world. And very interesting the consequences of that, because Noah became a victim of how the name is. It's a symptom of traumatized. But there is a term about it if somebody survived a war.
PTSD, post-traumatic.
Post-traumatic. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Vatican will pay for it. I hope anyway. Post-traumatic syndrome. And how try to manage a post-traumatic syndrome? Somebody know? Start to drink, became a drunkard, and described in the Bible, he drank so much wine, lost the consciousness, and naked, lying on the tent. Naked. It's classical post-traumatic syndrome. But it's only one side of the consequences, but look at the other one. After the full disaster, whole of the created world, the God of Old Testament, the God of Jews promised something for the survived people. Never will do again. Never. And somehow, if we accept the religious approach to the cognition, this is the reason that we are here and we are speaking about the possibility of disaster. The God promised never do again such disaster. But if we are looking at historical background and the strategy of cognition of the traditional world, until the Enlightenment, until the 18th century, everybody in China, in Arabian Peninsula, in Europe, in United States agreed that each natural disaster, the declaration of avarice of human and punishment of God. Until the Enlightenment, everybody agreed. And the argument came from Bible. Good. And the last story, it's a story of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's possible I touched in the last week in this problem contradiction between Greek and the Judeo-Christian heritage. For example, homosexual practice. In the case of Judeo-Christian heritage, is lethal sin, the punishment of death. In the Greek heritage, no direction of the sexuality, no direction. The eros, no direction. No meaning of homosexual or heterosexual practice, no meaning, no meaning. It's possible, I told to you in the last week, sexual socialization as Spartan warriors. Okay, we are over. Good. In the case of Sodom and Gomorrah, it's a good example for how we can avoid, how could contemporaries avoid the punishment. Because Lot, it's other prophet, had a building in Sodom, and tried to negotiate with the God about the destruction of the cities and the condition of the survival. You know, you remember which are the condition of the survival. Ask Lot, show to the God 100 good people. And later 50, later 10, and finally no good man in these cities, and finally destroyed. You received the story that the angel who guarded out from Sodom family of Lot and prohibited to them turn back, and only the wife of Lot turned back and became a chalk, a column of chalk. No, salt or chalk, salt. Okay. Finally, if we have to summarize the crucial information about the approach and about the point of view of natural and physical environment, we are living in the cursed world. We have to work, and each awareness paid by punishment, natural disaster by God. Okay, these are the elementary information. Look at the Greek heritage. The Greek heritage is quite long, and Aristotle, who summarized the most important element of Greek philosophical heritage. The basic concept of Aristotle, which followed by his follower Theophrastus in Athens, in the Lyceum. It's a great academy and according to modern terms, university, by Theophrastus, a concept of physis and nomos. According to Aristotle, a word we can divide two parts. The first one, a physis. This is the nature, whole of the nature. Physis came from this term, physics, basically. A physis, a verb, a natural verb, which function according to eternal law, which never change. The same rhythm, it's sun and stars and the planets moving on the regular rhythm, eternal, under direction of eternal laws. But inside a small, a tiny part of the universe is Earth, where a human world is under direction of human rules, human culture, which is created by human and changed not only generation by generation, quite frequently. Therefore, according to concept of Aristotle, there is a contradiction between eternal logic of universe and the changeable nature of human. But very important to realize that the created world, the human world, is under direction of eternal universal laws. Okay, this is the first one. And the second one, concept of, this is the corpus Aristotelicum, everything which possible and imaginable on the world, wrote a book by Aristotle. But very important to mention that majority of works of Aristotle survive in Arabic translation. Why? Because the civilization collapsed after the disintegration of Roman Empire, and very important to call your attention, the roots of Muslim and the Christian world is common. Why? Because in the late period of Greek civilization, Alexander the Great conquered Persia, Near East, and even Egypt. And which was the most famous Greek library? Library of Alexandria, located on the delta of Nile. Okay, and when appeared a Muslim civilization, which was the core area of Muslim world? Medina and Mecca. Medina is a very dangerous place because in Hungary, Transdanubian area, South Transdanubian area, there is a village which named Medina. One of my friends, after 8/11, traveled to the United States, and in his identity paper, officer of United States read, came from Medina, and associated to the Arabic Peninsula, and receive a very, very deep control on the boundary. Because it's by the way. Okay, turn back to this story. Anyway, the first core area, capitals, Medina and Mecca. Medina, why so important? Because after the rivalry in Mecca, moved the followers of Muhammad to Medina. Therefore, the classical religious center, more deeper religious center compared with Mecca, is a Medina. Later, the first generation of Muslim caliphates located to Damascus, capital of Syria, for 1 century. And from Damascus moved the capital of Muslim world to Baghdad, capital of Persia. Why so important? Because on the time of Alexander the Great and follower of him infiltrated the Greek culture. And majority of works of Aristotle had in the library of Baghdad, translated to Arabic language. And how translated back to Greek and Latin? Area where live together Arabic people and European, generally monks, Franciscan and Benedictine and any other monks. Iberian Peninsula. Because it's possible you remember from your secondary school historical studies, Iberian Peninsula was a part on the early part of the Middle Ages, early Middle Ages, the Muslim civilization. And very interesting, in the 10th century, in Iberian caliphates, it's Cordovan caliphates more exactly, each adult man had literacy, was able to read and write. But 1,000 years before the European general literacy campaign of the 19th century. Why so interesting? Because it's possible, I told you in the last week, we socialized according to norm of modern society. What mean? Everything improve. Next year we'll make better iPhone than before. Therefore, we socialized very deeply to improving living standards, physical condition, and the perspective of our life. It's not true. History, it's possible, I told you similarly, it's a memory, personal memory, memory of our community, memory of village, memory of collective memory of city, and the people and the folks and so nation. So, if a memory functions well, it's basic and elementary condition of good orientation. Open the horizon. If not able to function well, we, not only me, a larger community, take into condition of mental sickness, lost the orientation. Therefore, very important, take good condition the memories. Okay, corpus Aristotelicorum, about everything, but look at the economic theory of Aristotle. Why is so important the economic theory? More students are from Faculty of Economics. Oh, only one? Two. Okay, it's enough. Anyway, if you know some complementary information, open way. Aristotle, why is so important to focus to economy? Because in the economy, somehow a surface of contact of human activity and the physical environment. Aristotle described and took the types of economic activity to three categories. The first one, natural economic activity. The second one, half natural economic activity. And finally, not natural economic activity. Which are the branches of economic activity? Two in these folders. The first one, which is the most important part of economic activity? Making a profit, making a benefit. But the crucial difference is, according to Aristotle, which are the source of benefit, which are and which were the source of profit. In the case of natural activity, only one category took into this folder, agriculture. Why? Because in the case of agriculture, a profit came from natural reason. Sunshine, rain, and natural fertility of soil. Look at the other side, not natural activity. A not natural activity means financial affairs, commercial affairs. Why? Because Aristotle applied, how the name, which is the English term, is zero game situation. Everybody know which is the zero game situation? No? Nobody? Zero game situation may happen in traditional economy, a traditional industry, traditional commercial structure. What mean? We can calculate, for example, three actors, three economic actors. A, B, and C. A had 3 gold ducats. B had 10 gold ducats. C had 5 gold ducats. And the final sum, the value which contained the closed traditional economy in this model, 18 gold ducats. If somebody would like to be more, had to take from other actor. No other way, because the sum, zero sum, the same, the whole of the value. No other way. Therefore, the conclusion of Aristotle It's not good. It's not good. The financial affairs and the commercial affairs, it's operation, the commercial operation and the financial operation to make to the hurt of other economic actors. And the half natural economic activity mean, for example, mining. For example, iron ore came from the nature, but the commercialization, it's depend on the rate of values on the stock of exchange. Okay, why so important? Because in the financial affairs, in the Christian world, prohibited taking, how the name, it's profit, not profit, it's there is an English term for that. If somebody borrowing money and ask back a higher, it's not benefit.
Interest.
Interest. Interest. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You have made so much. For example, in the former year, I had a course about the economic birth of world economic system, and the similar situation. I had a dictionary, a personal dictionary, because each case I take my international course to very late, because majority of potential participants no other place in the timetable. Okay, but I am not the best condition like majority of the audience, but it's quite a free place. Okay. Thanks a lot for your service. I will take into consideration in the formation of the grade. Okay, why so important? Because until the modern time, prohibited taking interest for the Christian people. But generally try to avoid, but the prohibition slowed down the intensity of economical affairs. Okay, we define which are the most important heritage from the Christian and the Greek civilization. Look at the precursor of environmental history. If we are looking at scientific background, later we will start, of course, the case studies, but before the case studies, very important, define the elementary concept. For example, this is a general problem. If we are not able to define the terms and the meaning of concept, we are not able to communicate. This is the principles of scientific communication. The first school, early environmentalist, the second one, geographer. There are geographer in the audience? No geographer. Okay. It's a pity. Because geography, very interesting studies, very interesting discipline. Why? Because the main boundary between different disciplines, a boundary between natural and the human sciences. But in the case of geography, inside of the geography, there is the main boundary of the disciplines. Why? Because when formed the geography in the 19th century, this was the knowledges and the discipline of people who discover of the world. For example, travel to Americas, travel to Indonesia, travel to China. Therefore, the people who discovered and described first time this area necessary to realize not only the natural, but the human and civilization and social condition too. And geography frozen down in this condition. And for a long time had a lot of conflict inside, I am partly geographer. I know I have inside information about the function of the geography. A lot of conflict between the geography, because a natural, a physical geographer connected to the geologist and the physicist and mathematician and so, and the human geographer connected anthropologist and ethnographer and historian and so, and no common ground for them. But recently, in consequence of domination of ecology, geography able to synthesize a lot of information, a lot of point of view, because it's a great experience of geographer looking somehow both sides of the world. Okay, geographers. Anna School, it's very important. Anna School is a historical school. I will speak a little bit later about them. And ecologists, because very important to me. Biologists in the audience? Biologists? Excellent. Because the ecology, I live together for 1 year in the student hostel with biologists. Because generally I lived in the, I spent 11 years in the different student hostels. Therefore, in my socialization, the most important influence is the student hostel. If you look my room in this corridor, like a room of student hostel, there is a bed for sleeping and, for example, a lot of devices for cooking. Therefore, in the case of atomic war, I can survive for days in my room, because it's a student hostel. It's very important if somebody there is an experience. It's sensible period. It's a young period. Organize the world according to experiences. Okay, ecologist is a sub-discipline, originally a sub-discipline of biology, which try to describe the world according to ecotopes and ecosystems and not ecosystem. How the name living together animals. Ecotope is a physical environment. Okay, later. You have idea? Which are the part how try to describe the word ecology? Ecotope is a physical environment, but there is animals who are living together. But okay, one other slide we will find a little bit later, but had to step over the problem. Okay, look at the first one, early environmentalists. Early environmentalists are the first generation who try to use Judeo-Christian heritage and Greek philosophical heritage somehow take into a scienticized frame. The first people who used Christian heritage, a Francis Bacon politician and philosopher in England, and one of the key words of Novum Organum wrote by Aristotle, and Novum Organum as a renewing Greek philosophy and the concept of the Bible, and the introduction he wrote, the world is made for man, not man for the world. This is a basic concept of the Christendom. This is the human stewardship, idea of human stewardship. And the second one, Robert Jacques Turgot, a French politician, he wrote his thesis in Sorbonne University and started the introduction. The physical nature is subject of constant law, and the human world is continuously changing. Look at the nous physis concept, which wrote by Aristotle. Nature's same cycles repeat themselves endlessly, eternal law. One exception is human society, which are living in the nomos. Okay, crucial change unfolded on the century of enlightenment. Everybody knows which is the concept of enlightenment. Enlightenment. Everybody? Everybody. Okay, okay. Good. Basically, this was the magician of the world. Is this enchantement. It's a very special historical term. It's closing out from the general communication, the magical and the theologian concept. Only one legal strategy of cognition left on the ground, a rational cognition. For example, if on the Middle Ages, for example, I accuse you that you are a magician, you know, from the Harry Potter story, and destroy the mental condition of my cattle, start a very deep inquisitional experiment. You know which is the strategy and the mechanism of the Inquisition. Everybody know Inquisition. How worked the Inquisition? Two commissioners. The first one, a religious commission, ask you are witch or not? Your answer?
Oh, I'm not.
You are not, okay. But here there is a very sympathetical people who are a local, how the name is, performed executor, local executor, show to you on the subway of City Hall the devices which are very bad for the physical condition. For example, pushing out one eyes, broken the legs, and so on and so. How many devices are in the subway? Somebody know? 7. In Hungarian language, there is a term for the people, 7-tested guy. Hungarian is a 7 próbás gazember. Because in the witch hunting operation apply 7 devices. If somebody survived, it's a hard people. Okay, the first I ask you are witch. You declare I am not a witch. Therefore, the executor, like in the museum, show to you how function these devices. Okay, you turn back. Inquisitor asks you. You saw devices for the torture. Second time, I ask you. You are rich or not?
I'm still not.
Okay, the sympathetical executor guard you and show a physical function of the devices, and very high the chance you will die on the operation. But other way, you can declare, yes, I am rich. Okay, thanks a lot for your collaboration. There is a small place. We are gathering a little bit dry materials and burn, because devices of evil, no other way for the killing, only burning. Okay, and somebody estimate how many people killed in Europe for witch hunting. How many people?
More than 5 million?
No. No, it's a local affair had and no operation, no institution and no enough devices, because each of witch hunting documented well. Therefore, it was a real legal operation. It's quite slow.
So it's like 200,000?
No, only estimate, but not exact data are about it, because in the early modern time, in the 16th and 17th century, happened the majority of persecution and witch hunting. One in Central and Western Europe documented 100,000 execution, approximately. And a German historian who specialized to the witch hunting, documentation of the witch hunting, named that this was the precursor of Holocaust, because the same illogical mechanism and logical and illogical mechanism animated this process of witch hunting, and somehow no rational reason of the persecution, but it magical, like in the case of Holocaust. Okay, but very interesting. It's other direction. Very interesting in the history of ideological history, the mutation of the different movements, different philosophical movements. Look at, for example, Judaism. Judaism based to the elected nation, and the mutation of the Judaism and Nazism, which came from the ideology of Nietzsche, it's an Übermensch, and the elected people replaced to the Jews are Germans. Look at, for example, the Christendom. Compare with the Bolshevism. Which is the final goal, final target of the communism? The ideal world, it's a communist world, where not necessary to, it's a mutation, somehow it's an ideological mutation. Nobody work or minimal and optimal level, and everybody consume according to needs. Like in the heaven. But heaven form on the world. But it's a little bit more complicated. Turn back to this story. In consequence of enlightenment, a magical and the theologian point of view closed out from the public communication and dominate a rational cognition. Why? Because in the great rivalry, a rational cognition on, for example, formation of the global economy and formation of the precondition of industrial revolution, a rational cognition perform much better than the magical or theologian strategy of cognition. It's a transfer between two phases described well, quite famous poet of English literature, Alexander Pope. He wrote a short poem about it. Nature's law lay hid in the night. God said, let Newton be, and all was light. This ironic approach to the domination of rational word description. Okay. The first crucial person of early environmentalist, Georges-Louis Leclerc. Short name of him, if you type into the computer, you can find as Buffon, because he was an aristocrat, a member of nobility, high nobility, and he received an excellent job on the court of Louis XV. He became the leader of gardener of royal garden. You know, in the world in the 18th century, on the Enlightenment had two types of garden. A French garden, each of bushes and trees, it's cutting under arithmetical forms. And which other gardening?
The English?
English garden. Which is the differences between the French and English garden?
Usually in the English garden they just let the flowers and the plants grow by themselves and don't really cut them to a certain shape, but in the case of the French garden they do.
Like in the wide natural environment. This is impression. If you, for example, travel to Munich in Germany, Bavaria, the most famous, one of the most famous place of Munich, English garden. It's an English garden. And impression of us when walking on the English garden, this is like a nature, but it's not true. Not true. Because in the great and the best English garden, take the plants beside each other from different climatic zone. And the greatest performance in the English garden, taking together a tropical tree and a tree from the polar area. Why? Because in the case of French and the English garden, the best one need huge energy, money and efforts. Therefore, but walking on the English garden, our impression, no control, each plants, it's growing every direction, but it's not true. There is a very scientificized form of the gardening. But in the case of France, no option, it's an area of French gardening. But Georges-Louis Leclerc, alias Comte de Buffon, received this leader, intendant of gardeners, but had a large budget. Therefore, organized a Academy of Natural Sciences and organize Institute of Research of Physical Environment and Plant and Flora and Fauna, and describe whole of the vegetation and whole of the animals of French Kingdom, and published a long series of academic volumes. It's 36 and plus 3 volumes with the pictures about the plants and animals. But the most important volume of him, not the long series, but a short essay about origin and background of human civilization and connection to the physical environment. The title, Les époques de la nature, it's very easy to translate to English, Age of Nature. Age of Nature divide the human history for 7 ages. 6 unfold in the Garden Eden, and the 7th started with the expulsion from the Garden Eden. Punishment, curse, we are living in the cursed world, and necessary to work. And principle of Buffon, that the human, we are on the time of enlightenment, imagined that the world we are able to improve. I temporarily close to this idea. Somebody know, on the age of enlightenment, how many persons were able to read and write? How many percent was the literacy? My guess.
Around 2%?
No? More.
15.
15, not 50, 15%. Recently, how many percent of Hungarian is a typical on the educated and developed countries, how many percent of human able to understand which read? Same. And very interesting, same, 15% of human able to understand really the text which read. Therefore, democratized the approach to the information, because, of course, in the 19th century, the noblemen and the sons and the children of aristocracy was able to read. But two other questions. The second one, in Jews community, because the Jews lived in the diaspora when lost the war against the Roman Empire in the 2nd century. But in the Jews community, the mandatory education for every child started. In which century? In the Jews communication, in the Jews communities, which lived in scattered in diaspora in different parts of the world. In Muslim area named the Sephard Jews, in Christian area is Ashkenazi Jews. In which century started the mandatory elementary education? 2nd century. 2nd century. Therefore, the intellectual background for the Jews, it's great gap compared with any others. Okay, which I lost, which was my third question, not important. Okay, turn back to the story. According to Buffon, the human able to rebuild a condition of Garden Eden out of Eden. How? Domesticate the nature. Domesticate the wild nature. You know, it's echoes on our ears. Domestication of nature. The wild nature. A fight against the wild nature. Water regulation. Building of natural, artificial environment. We are living in artificial environment. And I suppose majority of us not able to survive, for example, in the valleys of Amazonas. The first night, everybody from this lecture room died. Why? Because we lost the capacity and the skills of survival in natural environment. We are socialized to the artificial environment. Look at, for example, the recent global warming. Which are the reaction of the civilized world for the global warming? Make artificial small units, like in the flat, like in the supermarket, which apply and climaticized air condition. Apply which is the elementary condition of the air conditioner? The cheap energy and the cheap water. Whole of the modern civilization took these pillars: cheap energy, cheap water. Okay, according to the concept of Buffon, it's very optimistic concept. We are able to do, we are able domesticize physical environment, rivers and animals. It's quite true, because look at the chain of consummation. Look at the animals up above the human, majority killed and very near to the extinction. Look at the lions, tiger and any others, above the position of the human. And who are the higher benefit of human dominance? The animal which we are consuming. For example, pigs, chicken, ducks, cattle. This is the biological backpack of human. Animals under the human, which the human are consumed. For example, one of the most important winner of human domination, the pigs. Like a species, but personally the pigs, majority never survived the first year, because using for years. Okay, look at the conclusion. According to Buffon, a human civilization able rebuild the Garden Eden, based to the rational cognition, based to the human power, made artificial environment. Okay, look at the second. Yeah, this is the timetable. This is the how the name is the content or main content of the Epoque de la Nature. A passing star hypothesis, how formed the Earth. It's collided with comets and other planets. Very interesting estimation of age of Earth. It was a revolutionary revolutionary concept. Why? Because I don't know which one, Jews or old Christian calendar based the date of creation 3761, or this is, I remember, this is the old Christian calendar, and this is the Jews calendar 5509 before Christ. Deny the Noah's flood hypothesis because no geological evidence about it. 7 epochs of the humankind and human stewardship. Therefore, Buffon very optimistic. If you open, for example, on the time of flood, newspapers and open the electronic newspapers, it's generally when write about the problem of physical environment, it's very optimism came from the concept of Buffon. Okay, look at the other side. 100 years after the publishing of which was the title? Les Epoques de la Nature, published a similar seminal book by American author. His name is George Perkins Marsh. Why so important this book? The title of this book, Man and Nature, or Physical Geography as Modified by Human Action. Basically, George Perkins Marsh came from the WASP background. WASP. Somebody know which?
White Anglo-Saxon
Protestant.
Protestant.
Okay. It's a political class of United States. Majority of presidents came from white Anglo-Saxon Protestant background. Only 3 presidents came from the same background. Somebody know which president came from different?
Biden is Catholic.
Biden Catholic.
I think Kennedy was Catholic.
Kennedy Irish Catholic.
And maybe Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. But Barack Obama, a border case because his father came from Kenya, no any connection from the southern provinces of former United States, but his mother came from white Anglo-Saxon background. Therefore, he learned white Anglo-Saxon kindergarten, elementary school, secondary school, university. Therefore, collected the same personal connection. And the most important element, 100% of population of United States, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. 20%. And recently decreased in consequence of immigration from central and southern part of Americas. It's very interesting example that a minority, but it's not exceptional. Look at, for example, history of Netherlands. Somebody visited in Netherlands? I stayed half year in Netherlands, received a fellowship to Dutch Academy, an unbelievable place. Unbelievable place. I remember I traveled by car and stopped in Utrecht. This was the first fuel station, and I was very surprised because I drove through Germany. And in the fuel station, everybody is very rigorous, it's very closed. And beside me, in the first fuel station, the people singing. I don't know which consumed before, but singing. Therefore, it's general prejudice about the Dutch people, a Dutch, a German, who is good humor and good taste of humor. Okay, and happy almost continuously. And Amsterdam, unbelievable place, 80% of traffic based to the bicycle. Like a village, in the village. There is a lot of other advantages of Amsterdam, but no time for speaking about it. Good. George Perkins Marsh came from the white Anglo-Saxon background. He was a diplomat of the United States, and he had a crucial operation. He was the leader of I don't know. He was a consul in Istanbul on the time of Hungarian Revolution and Independence War. It's 1848 and 9, and the Hungarian emigration emigrated to Istanbul under the direction of Lajos Kossuth. But in this period, diplomatic relation between Ottoman Empire and the Habsburg Empire was very good. Therefore, very high danger had that passing back the leader of Hungarian Revolution. And the sort of and the possible reaction of Habsburg government was obvious after execution of Hungarian generals and the Hungarian Prime Minister Lajos Batthyány. Therefore, 2 options had for emigrants. The first, conversion to Muslim religion. Somebody know which Hungarian revolutionary converted to Islam? Joseph Bem. He was basically a Polish guy, but converted, and he became a general of Muslim army. And Richard Guyon, it's an English guy who participated similarly, and he was a general of Hungarian army, converted to Muslim, no problem, because Muslim people never taken back to for Christian. But for majority of politicians, no such option. Therefore, George Perkins Marsh personally paid the ticket of ships, which help of this ticket traveled to first step in England and later to the United States, Hungarian leader of Hungarian emigration. It's a very, very good guy. But why so important his work? Because he socialized in the pioneer area. It's a peripheral area of American civilization. Why so important? This is the last slide today. Because if we imagine northern part of America before European immigration and European arrival of European conquistador, it's a forest from the east to the west coast. A little bit exaggeration because lived Indians, but the density of population quite moderate. Therefore, it's a forest area. If we try to imagine a United States, it's very special, the physical condition. East coast covered by Appalachian Mountain, and it's a west coast, east coast. West coast covered by a Rocky Mountain, much higher. And between the north and south mountain chain, this was the corridor of wind. It's very quick, with very quick winds, hurricanes and tornadoes, moreover. And this is the Mississippi River. And when arrived the first generation of conquistadors, occupied and founded the first provinces, and later moved westward. The first step, it's hunters. The second wave are farmers. The fourth founded a small settlement network. For example, the Western movies show the typical small cities with, for example, saloon, with, for example, office of sheriff, and you can imagine, if somebody saw and watched Western movies, can imagine this one. And the crucial operation performed by farmers. Why? Because these farmers came from western, northwestern part of Europe. Somebody know, my guess, which nation exported the highest number immigrant from Europe to United States? Which nation? Cheers. Not the Hungarians.
Maybe the Germans.
Because when I taught it at the Central European University, the answer in this European, Hungarians. Before the exam, it's very important, taking the plus.
Maybe Germans.
German, it's very important, not English, not Scottish, not Irish, German. And why recently not official language is a German?
Because they weren't the leaders, they were the ones who worked in the fields.
Arrived later. The first generation, English, the second English, and the third generation, third wave in the 18th century, for example, on the time of Independence War, under English flags served German mercenaries. And after the losing of Independence War, the German soldiers left in independent country and became a citizen of them. And except the closed religious communities like Amish saved German dialects from the 18th century, but majority assimilated. The first wave, the institution, educated, constructed by English, therefore outnumbered the German immigrants, but arrived later and assimilated. But unbelievable American accumulation. You know the name of John Harvard? John Harvard was a young priest, lived in the middle of 17th century, and died quite early. And when realized that we'll die soon, made a foundation, Harvard Foundation. for founding a school. This was the first operation to the Harvard University. A young priest, before his death, took a foundation. And like an avalanche, accumulating. And 400 later, the first and second and the third university of the earth, of the world, recently. But a little bit same story in Szegen, the founder of City Library. There is a small sculpture if you're walking on the Dome Square. A founder of first library of the city, Somogyi, Károly Somogyi. The same story, but a little bit shorter, the historical background. Okay, arrived German immigrants, and what did the German immigrants, I will tell in the next week because time expired.